Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Jun-sok, professor of economics at the Catholic University of Korea. Professor Yang, good afternoon. Thank you as always for making time today.
Happy to be here.
Well, let's start with Wall Street. Stocks closed quite a bit higher on Friday. The Dow for the first time in 7 sessions. But for the week, all 3 main indices were down. It's going to be a big week on Wall Street for retail earnings. The futures right now, though, pointing to a lower open. What's the story in the global markets as we start a new week?
Well, as you said, Friday, all 3 indices were up. The big question, though, is no one's quite sure why it rose. The best explanation that I've seen so far is that it just couldn't go down forever. On Friday, Dow rose by 1.5%, S&P by 2.4%, and NASDAQ by 3.8%. For NASDAQ, it was the strongest one-day gain since November 2020, and it was led by companies which deal with discretionary consumer spending and information technology. The rise was also very broad-based, with about 95% of S&P listed companies ending the session in the green. But as you mentioned, despite Friday's gains, the major averages were in the red. Dow was down for the week by 2.14%. They've hit a 7-week losing streak. This is the first time that they lost 7 weeks straight since 2001. S&P fell by 2.4%, and it hit its longest weekly losing streak since 2011. And NASDAQ slipped for the week by 2.8%. So overall, it's been a good Friday, but it hasn't been a good week. And it looks more and more like it will be a singular event because, as you said, the futures right now look like it's going to go down. And that's basically because of fear of high inflation, fear of Fed raising the rate. And the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, said that he could not guarantee a soft landing for the U.S. economy. So all that is preying on the U.S. economy. Now, year to date, Dow is down 12%, S&P is down by 16%, and NASDAQ is down by 25%. European stocks, they also had a very good Friday last week. DAX, FTSE, and CAC were all up between 2.1 to 2.6%, and it was led by travel and leisure stocks. But today, they just started trading, and DAX, FTSE, and CAC are all down between 0.2 to 0.6%. Asian stocks, the Friday, again, they rose, but today it was a mixed outlook. Nikkei was up 0.5%, Shanghai was down 0.4%, and Hangyang is more or less even. They're up about 0.05%. The Chinese industrial output came out today, and it was basically bad news, but it didn't seem to hit the stock market by that much. The Chinese industrial production for April fell by 2.9%. Retail sales fell by 11%. And unemployment in their 31 major cities hit 6.7%, which is a new high. So I expect the Asian stocks to not do well for the next few days.
Right, Professor. I was going to bring up those numbers from China because we saw Korean stocks a mix today. They started out higher, then those numbers came out, and those gains were tapered. It seems because of that, maybe. The KOSPI closing lower, a gain on the KOSDAQ, though. Tell us about the domestic market. Okay,
well, the KOSPI had a pretty bad day today, but KOSDAQ did actually fairly well. But there was a report by the Financial Supervisory Service saying that foreigners on the net sold 5.3 trillion won's worth of stock on Friday. So it does mean that foreigners are moving out of the Korean market, which accounts for the general downward movement on the Korean stocks. 5.3 trillion won is higher amount than what we've seen in January, February, and March. So it seems to be accelerating. Direct investment is falling also. Korean Economic Research Institute and Major Economic Daily had a report saying that during the Moon administration, foreign direct investment fell on net by about 46 billion won, but foreigners seem to be moving into bonds. Foreigners bought about 4.6 trillion won's worth of private bonds during April. So right now, the foreign investors do seem to be either going out of Korea or moving into safer bonds. KOSPI for today, it started up but went down around 11 a.m. They tried to recover around 3 p.m. but failed. It was down 0.29% today and ended at 2,596.97. Individuals bought, institutions and foreigners sold. Year to date, they're down about 13%. KOSDAQ today, it rose by 0.37%. It ended today at 856.23. Individuals and institutions bought, foreigners sold, and year to date, they're down about 17.5%.
Well, Professor, before we go, this week we'll have an economic forecast for the second half of the year from the Korea Development Institute, also economic data on households. Just briefly, what's on your radar, Professor, the week ahead?
Okay, well, the most interesting number is going to be that KDI economic forecast. They previously estimated 2022 growth rate to be 3.0%, but almost all institutions are now lowering Korean growth estimates to somewhere between 2.5 to 2.9%. I expect the KDI to do as well and raise their estimate for inflation as well. Now, because everything is somewhat unpredictable right now, that may show us how things are currently rather than what it's going to be in the future. It'll show basically what are the worst factors for Korean growth, what will we have the worst impact rather than what the accuracy of the numbers themselves. On Thursday, Statistics Korea will publish household trend for the first quarter, in household income and spending, and income disparity. On Friday, Bank of Korea will publish their Producers' Price Index. For foreign statistics, on Tuesday, we will have U.S. retail sales, and on Thursday, inflation in the Eurozone.
Got it. All right, Professor, we'll have to catch up with you later in the week on all of that. Thank you, as always, for sharing your insights with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.